Okay, that'd be fun to go over some paper writing strategies that I've adopted in recent years. And I want to use some of my recent papers as examples because I often find that these kind of guides to writing papers are just very, very high level and vague. And I feel like having examples to ground these sorts of writing tips would be good. So here's just a few papers I pulled up recently. This is a combination of HCI systems papers and study papers. So for systems, I have Porta. There's DSJS, Bespoke, and Mallard, and these are all from the WIST conference. And then for the study papers, I have two that we did at CHI. So this is a single authored one, Older Adults Learning Programming from CHI 2017, and a one with my PhD student, Sean Cross, Data Science Teaching for CHI 2019. So I want to just first start with just overall paper layout and structure. So if we just zoom out here, we can see that these papers are usually 10 pages for HCI conferences. They're 10 pages, double columned, and they are, and then there's references. So more or less, this is the general structure. And I want to just try to make videos breaking down each of the sections. So we'll just start with the abstract. So, the abstract is often the part that I write last. And the reason why I write it last is because I want to have the context of the entire paper in my head, and then I can summarize it the best I can at the very, very end usually. So the abstracts can actually be pretty tricky to write well because this is the way to think about the abstract is that this is the only thing that people who are reviewing your paper will have to reference when they are writing up their summaries or when they are in a program committee meeting and such. So you really want to make sure that everything is in here because when they're looking through your papers, again, during the committee meetings, that's all that they're going to see. So, basically, it's just talking about, just briefly highlighting the problem in each area. If for a system, what the solution is, what the main, technical insight is for the solution, and then, what kind of study that you ran, right? So this is kind of, the study, and then sort of some implications of the study at the very bottom. So it should just have a fairly straightforward structure. Again, like don't leave anything to suspense in the abstract. Just, write it in the very end and basically take out all of the best parts of your paper here. When you finish your paper, you should have all the best parts and just stick all the best parts in the abstract, one part at a time. So it's kind of like a mini paper in a sense. So that's Porta. I won't go through all of them, but what's another example of one? Here's another one. So if you're the first study in a certain area, point this out up front. Obviously, you should make sure you really are the first to do something. Again, you don't need a lot of motivation in the abstract, just a little bit. And for a study paper, it's mostly what you did, right? So what kind of study you ran. This is an online survey, and then most of it's your study findings and then implications, right? So it should, your abstract should always end with some kind of broader implication because, when you're doing like a system, it's not just what system you built, it's the implication for, what does this kind of system enable and such. So that's pretty much most of what I have to say of the abstract. I'm just going to scan through these other papers really fast, see if anything stands out in my mind. Let's see. Yeah, usually it's like just one sentence or two at most of motivation. Just like not too, you don't need too much up front because you don't want your abstract to be too long either. There's usually a word limit, and there is a word limit. You notice how you just want it to fit compactly here, right? You want it to fit nice and compactly. You don't want it taking up too much space if you kind of zoom out, right? So it shouldn't take up too much space on the first page. And that is pretty much it for the abstract. Okay, so let's talk about the introduction next.